Supply crunch. Lisa Brady, Fox News. Questions the White House keeps getting a day after the president announced a plan for round-the-clock operations at a major port.
The Los Angeles port director, Gene Sirocco, said they don't have an exact timeline for moving to 24/7 operations.
We've got commitments from some of the biggest importers in the country, some of the biggest companies in the United States of America, and their ability to bring this cargo off our docks so we can bring the next ship in is really key. And it gets into that level of detail with the discussions we're having.
He said there are 62 cargo ships anchored off the coast waiting to come in, with more ships arriving shortly, and that a shortage of truck drivers and warehouse staff, where cargo is often held and distributed from, contribute to the backlog. Sirocco also said they hope the infrastructure bill passes, which would allocate more money to the ports.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. Meantime, the White House says it's closely tracking the issue of rising oil prices and looking at options to improve energy supply around the country. A judge ordering former President Trump to give a videotaped deposition in a lawsuit brought by protesters who accused his security team of assaulting them in 2015, a protest that stemmed from negative comments about immigrants in the early days of the Trump campaign. Former Trump White House aide Steve Bannon could face a contempt charge over refusal to provide testimony or documents to the House committee probing the Capitol riot. That committee now plans to vote next week on a contempt report that could go to the Justice Department. A Marine awaiting his fate after pleading guilty in a court-martial over his public criticism of the Afghanistan withdrawal.
Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller has pleaded guilty to all 6 charges during his court-martial at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. He was relieved of his command at one of Camp Lejeune's infantry training battalions in August after he posted those videos, which he made while in uniform.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. America is listening to Fox News.
This is a metaphor for your business's journey. Sometimes it feels like the world is throwing everything it has at you, and to succeed, you need someone to guide you through. That's what Dell Technologies advisors do. They have the Windows PCs and tech advice to help you navigate whatever challenges you're up against and get you safely to where you want to be. Call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL. A start to a simpler experience with Windows 11 Pro.
Saturday, October 23rd, is National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day. Remove expired or unused prescription stimulant medications from the home quickly to help reduce the chance that others may accidentally take or intentionally misuse the medicine. According to the FDA, the best way to dispose of unused medications is through drug take-back programs or registered collection sites. For more information or to locate the Take-Back Day location closest to you, go to DEATakeback.com. This message is paid for by Adlon Therapeutics.
The U.S. Navy puts sailors on notice they could get kicked out if they don't comply with the military's COVID vaccine mandate.
The U.S. Navy plans to give the boot to sailors who refuse to get the shot without a pending or approved exemption. The Navy in a statement saying those who don't comply will receive no lower than a general discharge under honorable conditions. It's a calculated risk for service members because that type of discharge could cost them some veterans' benefits. The Vice Chief of Naval Operations says over 98% of active duty sailors have received at least one dose of a vaccine. They must be fully vaccinated by November 28th. Steve Rappaport, Fox News.
He's been out of prison for 4 months, but Bill Cosby now faces a new lawsuit from one of his sexual assault accusers, who tells the Associated Press that Cosby's recent release factored into her decision. Lily Bernard says Cosby drugged and raped her in 1990 in a hotel room in New Jersey. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned Cosby's 2018 conviction in another case. Another link with the West is removed in China as a tech giant decides not to comply with tighter censorship.
Microsoft says it will shut down its version of LinkedIn in China later this year and replace it with a job search site that does not feature a social feed or the ability to share posts or articles called InJobs. The tech company citing a significantly more challenging operating environment and greater compliance requirements in the nation. LinkedIn was the last major U.S. social media network still operating in China. A Chinese internet regulator telling LinkedIn earlier this year it needed to better moderate its content, giving reps a 30-day deadline.
Fox's Christian Goodwin. What if inflation isn't transitory? The International Monetary Fund urging the Fed and other central banks to respond quickly if needed, warning of rising threats to global recovery. Best day on Wall Street in months, the Dow up more than 530 points. And Lisa Brady, Fox News.
Mostly cloudy skies for the rest of the afternoon. We'll have a high near 50 with a west wind blowing around 20 to 30 and gusty at times. Clouds hang tight tonight with a low in the upper 30s. We'll have a west-northwest wind at 10 to 20. And for your Friday, a few more peaks of sunshine, still breezy and cool with a high in the lower 50s. Looks like a chance for frost as we head into Saturday morning. Remember, you can always find the full forecast at am1100theflag.com. From the Flag Skywatch Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki.
Introducing the most comprehensive and in-depth high school football show ever. Welcome to The Blitz. Each week, we'll have players and coaches interviews, previews of the biggest games in 9-man and 11-man, and feature select regional games and teams from Western Minnesota. A 1-hour show with game day forecasts, special features on players, and interaction from the fans. Join us every Friday night for The Blitz.
Celebrating America, 1 hour at a time. This is the Chris Berg Show.
Big question for you today to kick off the show, and that question is, should the state of North Dakota pass a bill in the upcoming special session? This will be kicking off in early November, but should North Dakota pass a bill that says no mas to COVID shot mandates? If you're a private employer, no, you cannot mandate for that for your employees. Should North Dakota pass that bill? Because guess what? Do you hear that? I might just have a draft of a bill that might just say that, hey, guess what, private employers? No, you can't force people to take the jab. Especially with some of the information that we are seeing across the state, across the country, across Israel, as far as what's happening with the effects, or should I say lack thereof, of the COVID jab. So Representative Jim Casper is going to join us for that. Welcome to the Chris Berg Show. This is your hour of freedom, your oasis of freedom. You can call into the show anytime you want, talk about anything that's on your heart or mind. Of course, Representative Casper will be taking some questions from you as well. He'll be with us for the first part of the show. And then coming up to kick off the second half of the show, we've got an exclusive investigative story from our Chris Berg Show reporter, Chris Larson. He's done some amazing work. So he's going to uncover some things. And we're going to also talk about the Chris Berg Show tip line. So if you feel like you've been wronged by somebody or you want us to dig into some stories for you, you can now call into the show, email Chris Larson, and we will go to work for you. I have to start here today, though, for a moment before we bring in Representative Casper. By the way, I just want to know, paging Noman dates. Paging Noman dates. Please go to gate 30. That's paging Noman dates. I hope you caught on to that. If you didn't, I will give you more in a moment. Again, in the airport, I'm paging Noman dates. Okay. So I'll get to that in a moment for you. This is serious now that I want to talk about with you. And I want to know if anybody else out there has had this experience. Because how many times have you and I heard, follow the science from the scientists, the doctors, right? Follow the science. That's what you and I are told. And yet, how many people out there that are telling you to do that are actually following the science? So I've got a friend of mine right now, very, very sick. He's got the 19. He's got the 19. He's got the vid. He's got the COVID, right? The 19. So he's very, very sick because he's got COVID, and he's been now going around trying to get treatment. So he did the monoclonal antibodies treatment. He's also, where I want to get to is he also is trying to get ivermectin. He's got a good friend of his who is a doctor. I don't want to give away too much information here, but I will tell you this is in North Dakota because Representative Casper, maybe you can address this when we bring you in here. But he's got a good friend who's a doctor, went to his buddy, said, hey, man, I am not feeling well. I've got the 19. I'm not feeling well. Can you prescribe me some ivermectin? His doctor essentially said, hey, man, I would love to, but, and listen closely here because I got the same information when I was in Watford City, but if I prescribe you ivermectin, I'll get put on leave for 2 weeks. A doctor tells a friend of mine who's not doing well because of the Diez y Nueve, hey, if I prescribe you ivermectin, I could get put on leave for 2 weeks. Now, the big question here, of course, is why? Why is that happening? Before I get into that, I'm going to play for you a quick clip. This is Joe Rogan. And I don't know if you listen to Joe Rogan or not, but I love this because he's got Sanjay Gupta on his show, right? The medical expert from CNN. Now, we all remember when Joe Rogan got the Diez y Nueve, and then all of a sudden he went and took some ivermectin. So listen to how he just lights up Sanjay Gupta from CNN in regards to ivermectin.
News network
It was not
lies.
Well, I don't.
Dude,
what did they say?
They lied
What did
and
they
said
say?
I was taking horse dewormer. First of all, it was prescribed to me by a doctor.
Yeah.
Along
They
with
shouldn't have said
a
it was
bunch of other
if it was-
medications.
if you got a human pill, because there were people that were taking it, the veterinary medication, and you're not, obviously, you got it from a doctor, so that it shouldn't be called that. Ivermectin can be a very effective medication for parasitic disease, and as you say, it's probably, I think what, 250 million people have taken it around the world.
more,
I get that.
way more.
So
Way more. Billions of people have taken it.
Can I just come back to the one I want to talk about? Two
No.
things on
You
the
have
ledger.
you have, before we get to that, does it bother you that the news network you work for out and out lied? Just outright lied about me taking horse dewormer.
They shouldn't have said that.
Why did they do that?
I don't know.
You didn't ask? You didn't think that was you're the medical guy over there.
I didn't ask. I should have asked before
But they
coming
did
on
it
your
with
podcast.
such glee.
No,
Yes,
Joe.
they did. I watched.
Yes, they did. Because he wanted to take ivermectin prescribed by a doctor. Now, some of you have been hearing about ivermectin as being this horse pill because, yes, maybe there's a veterinary type of ivermectin that's available out there for animals. And yet, here's what nobody else is telling you. And this is where I want you to think. Put on the old, what did our parents say? Put on the old thinking cap for a moment here, right? So a buddy of mine not doing well. What's the Hippocratic Oath, right? Do no harm, correct? Buddy of mine's not doing well. Ask a doctor for ivermectin here locally. And the doctor says, hey, man, I'd love to do it for you. But if I do it, I'm going to get put on 2 weeks leave. Why? Because let me read to you from the CDC website. From the CDC website, right? CDC recommends for overseas presumptive parasitic treatment. Now, I'm not suggesting ivermectin is the answer to COVID. My point is that, so what if you prescribe some ivermectin? It's not going to do any harm. That's the Hippocratic Oath. Do no harm. How do I know it's not going to do any harm? Because right here from the CDC, I have CDC recommends for overseas presumptive parasitic treatment. If you're from Africa, if you're from Asia, if you're from the Middle East, if you're from Latin America, it says right here in my hands, you can go to their website, one of the prescriptions that they recommend to treat this, if you're from Africa, Asia, Middle East, or Latin America, is, wait, what? Ivermectin? No. Yes, ivermectin is prescribed to refugees that come to our country from Africa, Asia, the Middle East, and Latin America. We're giving it to them, as you just heard, in billions and billions of doses. So why would a doctor tell a buddy that, hey, man, if I prescribe this to you, I'm going to get put on paid leave? Here in the great state of North Dakota, where we want ourselves to be the freest state in the nation. We want people to tell the truth. We want people to do the right thing. We want people to follow the Hippocratic Oath and do no harm. Not, oh my gosh, Big Pharma is going to come down on my hospital. I'm going to have to get put on 2-week leave because Big Pharma may not get another jab to put in somebody's arm and make another $1 billion in the next 12 months to raise their stock price. Would love to know your point of view. Producer Chris Larson, if you can set up Slack for us, please, that would be great, because the number to call into the show, 701-271-1100, 701-271-1100. Representative Casper, thanks so much for coming in studio. We've got a few minutes here. We're going to obviously keep you over the break, but I just want to get your initial take on, have you heard any stories like this about ivermectin? Because I've heard several now. And why in the world do you think a doctor would say, hey, if I do this, I'm going to get 2 weeks leave?
Oh, Chris, thank you for having me on the show first. I hear things like that every day.
You do?
There's publications that I subscribe to that talks about ivermectin, some of the other areas, hydro whatever,
I got you.
Yeah. And the areas where there's been proven results in other parts of the world. But seems to be prohibited in the United States and here in North Dakota. I just don't get it, why it's not available, but I'm not a health professional.
All right, that's fair. So let's get into a bill that you are drafting right now that potentially could be passed, correct me if I'm wrong, within the special session. And so because we've got a couple minutes here, if you can just sort of give the overview, and then if people want to call into the show and get a chance to ask you some questions about it, but give us the idea of what are you putting together, and then what needs to happen for you to pass it in the special session.
Well, first, it's not simply me, Chris. There's a number of us legislators that have been working on this for a number of weeks. We've had 3 Zoom calls to try to get a bill in the proper format so that we're protecting the individual rights. The key to me and to the legislators I'm working with is called the Constitution. Individuals that are guaranteed protections under particularly the Fourth Amendment and some of the other areas of our Constitution. So the individual right to not have the vaccine compared to a business owner's right to run his or her business as they please. And then we have state government involved. But this bill is quite comprehensive. It's only at this point about 3.5 pages. But first of all, it's going to prohibit state government from requiring that a person have a vaccine or to be able to enter state property or business property. So it's taking the government out of making a mandate for employees to move around. It protects the individual rights there. It also requires that a business cannot require that an employee has the vaccine, to be in employment in the business. And it does provide some exemptions for the employers because we have the federal government that's talking about putting some very stringent federal laws in place. So in the bill, it does say that if the federal government puts laws out there, hopefully they be challenged by states' attorney generals, but that the employer could not have to abide by the North Dakota state law, because we don't want to put our employers in a position where they choose state law compared to federal law. So there's an exemption there. So we felt that was important.
And we'll get to that because actually Jen Psaki addressed that earlier. Quickly, though, before we do go to break, and again, if you want to call in, Representative Jim Casper is joining us, and he is talking about passing a bill in this upcoming special legislative session here in North Dakota, early November, to stop COVID vaccine mandates, COVID jab mandates. So let's talk about nurses for a moment. Healthcare. Is there going to be an exemption for healthcare? Or are you going to say, hey, nurses, you have to get the jab, but what if they've had COVID previously and they've got the antibodies?
We did put an exemption in for the hospitals, the Long-Term Care Association, and affiliates across the state. That was a dilemma. A number of the group did not want any exemptions like that. I've talked with the head of the North Dakota Hospital Association, and he's talked to their membership, and they really feel strongly about it. So that politics is the art of being able to get something done. And so we made that exception for hospitals and those healthcare facilities. But we did put in there that if an employee provides to all facilities, the employers, the Long-Term Care Association members, and hospitals, if they provide proof that they have antibodies, then they would not be required to take the vaccine. And it also allows an employee to declare a religious or philosophical exemption from that and provide that to the employer. So there is some wiggle room in both areas of employer protection compared to the employee constitutional protection. So we've tried to balance it, but still, in most cases, the vaccine is going to not be allowed to be mandated by almost all businesses in the state.
Fascinating conversation. Following in Montana's footsteps and other states, I know they're looking to do the same. So again, if you're just joining us, that's Representative Jim Casper. He's going to stick around for the next segment as well. We'd love to know your point of view. Should North Dakota pass a bill that would stop employers from mandating the COVID jab? Number to call in, 701-271-1100. Again, 701-271-1100. You're listening to The Chris Berg Show.
The generous Jerry from Gold Silver Exchange Grand Forks is with us to talk about precious metals. In times of trouble, people turn to precious metals. Jerry, why is that?
Well, gold and silver historically have always been real money. And one of the problems we're going to be facing in the future here is with all this $6 trillion that the government has put into the economy, it's going to create inflation. And gold and silver are a very great insurance program against inflation, because during inflationary times, they hold value, whereas your dollars that you have in your pocket lose value. So it takes more dollars to buy the same amount of product that you're buying today. So we highly recommend now is a good time to be investing in precious metals.
Call Jerry, 701-746-9950. Stop and see him at 2124 Gateway Drive, Grand Forks.
My part-time service in the Army National Guard makes it possible for me to be more for the community I call home. I'm a better neighbor because my service has taught me how important it is to be a team player. My training helps me in my classes when I give attention to detail to the task at hand. My service in the Army National Guard allows me to keep my country safe from threats. Learn more about how you too can live and serve part-time by visiting NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the North Dakota Army National Guard. Aired by the North Dakota Broadcasters Association at this station.
'Tis the season for client gifting. This year, the elves at Grateful Craples are ready to take the stress of gifting off your shoulders. Just think, no building boxes, no long post office lines. Simply choose your gift set, send us your spreadsheet, and we'll take it from there. We are currently booking 2021 gifting dates. Call Danny at 532-1630, visit us online at gratefulcrapefuls.com, or stop by our showroom at 300 Cheyenne Street in West Fargo today.
Hey, it's Kevin Flynn from the Need to Know Morning Show with my Bottle Barn beverage of the week. This week from Founders Brewing Company, Grand Rapids, Michigan. It's their Velvet Rush, and it is delicious. Little coffee, little chocolate, little vanilla. Really good, but it's a sipper. And available at Bottle Barn Liquors, 2 locations, South University Drive and 32nd and Veterans, where they've got the fantastic humidor. Follow us on Facebook, online at bottlebarnliquors.com, and make Bottle Barn your last stop on the way to any occasion.
Gateway Building Systems is proud to be a new AGI bin dealer, the global leader in steel manufacturing, designed with exceptional flexibility and quality in mind. Storing your grain and non-corrosive materials has never been easier. With AGI bins, your options are endless. You'll find everything you need to keep your farm running and successful. For more information, go online to gatewaybuilding.com or call 1-800-747-4499.
We ain't gonna take it. Oh, we're not gonna take
Comply. Oh, producer Bridget, great job. You just heard him say there, we've got the right to choose. Hey, welcome back to the Chris Berg Show. This is your oasis of freedom. If you want to call into the show, joining us right now, Representative Jim Casper is with us. He is proposing a bill during this upcoming legislative session, which is going to happen in early November here in the great state of North Dakota, to say, hey, no, employers cannot mandate the COVID jab. Remember to call into the show, 701-271-1100, 701-271-1100. And in context of the song that producer Bridget just played and the conversation we're having with Representative Casper, I'm on Twitter during the break, and a person tweeted out, and I don't have it in front of me in this moment, so I may not quote it exactly, and the person said, hey, back in the 90s, NBA let Magic Johnson play with full-blown AIDS. Today, Kyrie Irving can't play because he won't take a gene therapy, not fully approved jab. Is that where we've gone in America?
That is, it's the liberal ideology that is permeating around a whole lot of areas, and a lot of the big players like the NBA seems to have caught on with that COVID that COVID problem, and the individual rights are being trampled on, and it's time for states, and there's other states, Chris, like besides North Dakota, who are putting in bills like this. We're not going to be the Lone Ranger.
It feels like medical and corporate tyranny at times, doesn't it? Or is that?
Well, it is. You can't protect everybody from everything. My wife and I had COVID. She was much sicker than I was. She was in hospital for 4 days. I just had minor symptoms. But she also has a rare disease called Guillain-Barré syndrome. She cannot take any vaccines. So if she were employed and the employer says you have to take the vaccine, she would be out of a job. And I've had nurses call here from the Fargo area, Chris, that there's 300 or 400 doctors and nurses in the area that they say they're dead set against having to take the vaccine. And now, the big hospitals are requiring it. It's a dilemma. It's very, very difficult.
Very difficult. Excuse me. If you're just joining us, Representative Jim Casper is with us. He's proposing a bill to say no to COVID vaccine mandates. So what do you say to the person that's listening and that's going, I can't believe that North Dakota is going to try to fight back against these vaccine mandates. These vaccines are saving lives, and now you're going to put people's lives at risk.
Well, they may be saving lives, but you see now that people who have been vaccinated more and more are getting the COVID anyway. And then, of course, the underlying circumstances of the vaccine have still not been determined. It's still, just months new. There's a lot of anecdotal stories about people that have become deathly sick, have died, having heart issues. Young kids are having myocarditis, not cardiogram, but myocarditis or whatever that's called. And so what harm is the vaccine doing? The choice ought to be the individuals. It should not be mandated by anyone. The individual, the family doctor, they need to decide, not government, not businesses.
I mean, the biggest thing that nobody talks about is, so if you took the vaccine, why do you care if your neighbor didn't? That's the point of taking the vaccine, right?
Well, sure, you're protected.
That's where I always kind of go back to this, simple good, complex bad. I'm like, okay, so if you took it, then you should be fine. So we'll ask you this, because in this draft of this bill, it says if the employer violates this, they get an infraction. So let's say the employer says, hey, good job, good try, North Dakota, but I don't really care what you guys say. I'm going to do this anyways and mandate it. What happens to the employer?
Oh, just yesterday afternoon, we decided to take that out. The infraction is a crime. It's the most minor crime you could have, but it is a crime. So we're crossing out the infraction, and instead we're putting in the bill that if the employer requires the vaccine and the employee is harmed, the employee could bring a civil action against the employer. So we'll keep it in civil court. We don't want to make criminals out of our business owners, but if an employee does, it's just like if the employee was hurt on the job and the employer were negligent. So we're giving that employee the opportunity to bring action if he or she chooses.
Got it. So people out there, a lot of people are very passionate about this topic. If there's people that want to support what you're doing, how can they go about doing that? What can they do to help you get this passed in early November?
The key, Chris, is that when we get to Bismarck on November 8th, all of these bills I think there might be hundreds of them that'll go before what's called the Delayed Bills Committee. It's the House and the Senate have Delayed Bills Committee. It's the majority leader, the Speaker of the House, the assistant majority leader, the minority leader, and the assistant minority leader. There's 5 people in each chambers. They make the decision on the bills that are brought before them, whether or not they will say, okay, as an example, in the House, Representative Chet Pollard is our majority leader. If the 5 people vote 3-2 or better, then the House says, okay, we'll admit the bill. Then that bill goes over to the Senate and the Delayed Bills Committee over there the same way. So the best thing would be to contact the majority leader of the Senate, Senator Rich Wardner, and the majority leader of the House, Representative Chet Pollard, and let them know your feelings if you would like this bill to be put before the legislature. Just because it gets through the delayed bills, it's going to have a hearing then, because we're going to have time for public to come in and testify on the bills, and there'll be special committees appointed by the House and the Senate to hear these types of bills. Hopefully I'll be on one of the committees, but that's not for sure. But so the public input will be there, and then the committee would pass out a recommendation and would go to the floor of the House and the Senate. And then if it passes both the House and the Senate, then obviously it has to go to the governor, and the governor could veto or could sign the bill or not sign the bill, just let it become law without his signature.
So bottom line, if people want to get the most bang for their buck, if you will, create the most leverage, they need to contact the Senate Majority Leader, Mr. Wardner, or Chet Pollard, the House Majority Leader, correct?
I'd contact them both.
Yes.
And their own legislators.
And their own legislators. So whatever district you're in, find out who your legislators are, and then also contact, as you heard there, Majority Leader Pollard, Majority Leader Wardner, and let them know your point of view on how you feel about some of these bills being taken up in this special session. Representative Jim Casper, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it.
Pleasure to be here, Chris. Thank you.
Great to have you with us. All right, stay with us when we come back. We've got an exclusive investigative story from the Chris Berg Show reporter, Chris Larson. Stay with us.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks surged on better than expected earnings and upbeat economic data. The number of Americans applying for jobless benefits fell to its lowest level since the pandemic began. The Dow rising 535 points, the Nasdaq up 252, S&P 500 up 74. And shares of Walgreens Boots Alliance rose over 7% after beating earnings expectations. The pharmacy chain also announced it would become majority owner of primary care company Village MD with an over $5 billion investment. And U.S. Health Advisor said that some Americans who received Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine should get a half-dose booster to bolster protection against the virus. The Food and Drug Administration's panel recommended a booster shot for seniors, adults with other health problems, and jobs or living situations that put them at increased risk for COVID-19. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
Is your current home loan the right fit for you? Near historic low rates may be a great reason to refinance, but when matched with an expertly chosen loan from Loan Depot, you could be saving money and paying more towards the bottom line. Call a Loan Depot loan officer and ask about our 27-year Smart Term Loan or our 10-year ARM loan. Get a great rate matched with a great loan by calling 866-888-LOAN or visit loandepot.com. At Loan Depot, home means everything. Rates are subject to change. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing opportunity. NMLS number 174457. License.
Mostly cloudy skies for the rest of the afternoon. It will be windy and cool with a high near 50. We'll have west winds of 20 to 30 and on the gusty side. Mostly cloudy overnight tonight with lows into the upper 30s. We'll have west-northwest winds around 10 to 20. And for your Friday, a few more peaks of sunshine. Still breezy with west winds at 10 to 20, highs in the lower 50s. Sunshine returns and warmer temperatures for the weekend. Remember, you can always find the full forecast at am1100theflag.com. From the Flag Skywatch Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki.
Are you like me? Are you constantly misplacing receipts? Hi, Teresa here from your local Red Wing shoe store with one of the many benefits you'll receive when purchasing a pair of Red Wing shoes. Each Red Wing shoe store creates a customer history that includes your size, what you've purchased, and a copy of your receipt in case there's any warranty issues. Not from Fargo? No problem. We'll ship directly to you, no charge. Now there's no reason to wait for a new pair of boots. Red Wing Shoes, 3003 Main Avenue in Fargo.
Tioga, a place to grow, a place rooted in small town values and budding with big ideas, a place with a hearty work ethic and energy that shows. Enjoy our new community center, outdoor pool, park and rec activities, thriving schools, state-of-the-art clinic, the nicest general aviation airport in the state, and a vibrant main street where opportunity abounds. Tioga is fertile ground to grow your family, grow your business, grow your career, grow your garden, grow your faith and your community. It's a place to call home, where everybody knows your name, where people still smile and wave. Whether you're passing through or seeking a destination, pop in for a visit. You might just decide to plant new roots. Welcome to Tioga. Come grow with us. Visit the Tioga Chamber of Commerce at tiogand.org.
So the dream was to build your very own law practice, be your own boss, call all the shots. But have things like billing, HR, timekeeping, and all the other management stuff turned your dream into a nightmare? Take charge of your practice with Lexicon. We're the intersection of practice management software and legal support services for your firm. You'll get more billable and livable hours back. Lexicon marks the spot for all your practice management needs. Visit lexiconservices.com/intersection to get the whole story or schedule a demo.
Some people treat investing like a game, but Marcus by Goldman Sachs approaches investing in a smart way with digitally managed portfolios that leverage Goldman Sachs strategies. So, do you want to play games or do you want your money to work smart? You can money. Visit Marcus.com to learn more about saving, borrowing, and investing from Marcus by Goldman Sachs.
Investing involves risk and investments may lose value. Brokerage and investment advisory services by Goldman Sachs & Company, LLC. Member FINRA SIPC. Lending and deposits products provided by Goldman Sachs Bank USA. Member FDIC.
Murphy's in South Moorhead is a great place to celebrate after a game or watch games on Saturday and Sunday. Murphy's is becoming known for their fresh, delicious, made-from-scratch pizzas. You should try their pizza lunch buffet on Fridays. And they have an awesome selection of wing sauces to enjoy when you're watching a game. Plus, ask about their all-day happy hour on NFL Sundays, where they carry every NFL game live on their TVs. Murphy's Pub and Grill in Moorhead, open 3 to midnight Monday through Thursday and open at 11 Friday through Sunday.
I don't know who's getting married, but DJ Bridget, we're going to set this story up. All right. So in a moment, we're going to introduce you to Berg Show reporter Chris Larson. He has put a ton of work into this exclusive investigative story about Glasser Images. I don't know all the story, so I'm going to let Chris share with you what's going on there. Before we introduce Chris to the show and let him share with you the incredible work that he's done to uncover what's happening right now with this particular business in the great state of North Dakota, we are unveiling what's called the Chris Berg Show tip line. So if you feel like you've been wronged in some way, Chris has got another great story coming up about something happening within the Grand Forks Public Schools. If you want us to investigate something, you say, hey, something doesn't seem right. Can you guys look into this for us? Please let us know. We are here, obviously, to serve you. And so I want to give you the phone number for the tip line. It's got an extension on the end, so just so you're aware of that. But if you want to call in and let us know some things that you want us to dive into, we will absolutely do that. The number, please put this in your phone if you can. If you're driving, don't write it down, but if you can write it down, please do so. It's 855-200-1776. Again, that's 855-200-1776, and it's extension 6. So just hit extension 6. That'll put you into the tip line, and then you can tell us what's going on there. Or if you want to just email Chris Larson, it's chris.larson@flagfamily.com. Again, chris.larson@flagfamily.com, and that will be the Chris Berg Show tip line. We are here to go to work for you. So now let's introduce you to the Chris Berg Show reporter, Mr. Chris Larson. Chris, thanks so much for joining us. I know you put a tremendous amount of work into this story over the weekend, so the floor is yours, my friend.
Hey, Chris, how's it going today?
I'm doing great, man. What do you have for us?
Well, I tell you what a story. I want to introduce you to Savannah Kinnaman. Savannah is one of the brides who contracted with Glasser Images to provide services for her wedding. She explains to us how she came across Glasser.
After seeing like so many different ads on Facebook and everything like that, we just decided to email them, and it was a little over our budget, but like I said, we didn't want to stinge on anything like that. So we just kind of, bit the bullet and then went for it.
Glasser Images is a company that announced abruptly last week they were closing. The Bismarck-based photography and videography company cited the pandemic as one of the reasons they were closing. That's important for later in this story. She says her story began to turn when the second shooter, which she had paid for, was unable to show up due to an illness, and no replacement was brought in either. She says, however, her day went very well, and the first photographer did a great job. On October 2nd, Kinnaman received word that they would receive a partial refund for the second shooter. But she was also told about a product credit, which she had already received because she paid in full. So she requested to get paid in check. So what happened next?
But then, so she said that's fine. She can send us over a $300 check in the mail, and that, which I have not received yet, but I'm doubting I will. But
so things turned there. Now I want you to meet Samantha Anderson. Samantha told me what her reaction is to Glasser Images announcing their closure.
I'm more so like, I lost money, and I'm more so worried about like everyone else that lost like their memories that already had their events.
Anderson says her heart goes out to those who may never see their images.
I read them and I pray for them, and it's just, yeah, it's really hard to see them like suffering, because I understand like those lost memories. Like I just couldn't imagine that they might not get them back, and that's just horrible to me.
Michaela Brandon and Derek Linseth were supposed to have their images done by Glosser, as were a lot of people. A Facebook page full. Now, a check of the database regarding the Paycheck Protection Plan loans from the federal government shows Glosser Images received more than $500,000 in 2 PPP loans. Now, this is where the pandemic comes into play. So does Linseth, being the groom, buy the excuse of the pandemic being the issue?
Not a bit, because I obviously don't have sources, but I've read through multiple articles that they've got $500,000 in COVID pay for assistance. And what also really weirds me out is, yes, people were delaying their weddings, but you're not delaying payment, or you're not completely stopping. You're just delaying it. So you know that money's coming.
Let's meet Madison Ramberg. She had Glosser Images photograph her wedding, so they had already done it. She grew concerned when communications with the company ceased.
If you went onto their Instagram page, usually I've seen other similar wedding companies like American Wedding Group. I think they do they do tag the photographers, they tag the venue, and that's how it's supposed to be. These guys, they don't. That was a big red flag for me, is that they don't even tell you who the main photographer is.
So many things here. Let's move ahead to cut 9. Emily Santiago was a subcontractor for Glosser Images as a second shooter, capturing angles that the main shooter couldn't get, plus hanging out with the groom and groomsmen while they got ready for the wedding. Santiago says she was a little leery of signing over the copyright to the images to Glosser, but she did it anyway.
At the time, I had no information that there could possibly be any negative connotations going on with the company.
No negative connotations. This is what's concerning, Chris, is a lot of these people, they went into this with no concerns. Now, Abby Hurley, Glosser was booked for her wedding shortly after she got engaged in 2020. What did she get? She got sneak peeks, but held out hope that she'd actually get her images. The company had told her they were busy. She wasn't worried until last Friday.
They kept kind of letting me know that they were super busy, and I really wanted to give grace, as I know a lot of vendors had been really crazy busy this last year because of the pandemic and everyone rescheduling everything. Pretty much everybody had double the clients. So I wasn't really worried up until Friday morning at 6:30 when I saw people posting that they had closed, and that's when I started to panic.
The couples that have been waiting for photos or the status of their photographers were given some information on a Wednesday at a morning press conference by Glosser attorney Tim O'Keefe. O'Keefe says there was about 150 subcontractors working with Glosser Images, with weddings being shot in multiple states, North Dakota, South Dakota, Colorado to be some. O'Keefe explains the whole process since their announcement last Friday.
Unfortunately, last week, Glosser decided that it was time to shut the doors. They were not a going concern anymore, and he let his employees know first. And then the next day, he issued a statement to all of his clients and to the public, letting them know that unfortunately he had to close.
But I warn you, I have learned from multiple people that this statement didn't go out to every client. There were clients that haven't had their events yet that didn't get notification. But O'Keefe says his firm is working to find a way to take the videos and images and get them to the people who rightfully should have them. A process that isn't going to happen overnight.
Hopefully it doesn't take months for this to be accomplished. Hopefully it's a matter of weeks, but it is going to take some time to coordinate all of the dissemination of images and videos and to get them to the wedding couples.
Everything's accounted for, he said, but it's a logistical challenge to get things to the rightful owners. He has no comment regarding potential refunds. And the question has been asked several times, did Glosser Images and its owner, Jack Glosser, file for bankruptcy? He responded to that question.
Some of the news articles I saw last week or over the weekend said that he had filed for bankruptcy. That's not true.
So that's not true. How about the status of the PPP loans we discussed earlier? He addressed that as well.
Glosser Images applied for those loans, as you said, starting in April of 2020, as did thousands of other businesses. They were applied through the SBA process. They utilized a local bank. The loans were officially approved. The money was lent to Glosser Images. So the PPP loans in both cases were granted, and the PPP loans were used for payroll purposes. The money went to payroll. There were a lot of employees, and the loans were also officially forgiven, as were most of the PPP loans that went out. So they were audited, reviewed, the funds were utilized for the intended purpose, and the loans were officially forgiven.
O'Keefe says his client fully intends to cooperate with the North Dakota Attorney General's office's investigation. As of this Thursday morning, the North Dakota Attorney General's office has received 475 complaints regarding Glosser Images. A check with the Minnesota Attorney General's office shows it has received complaints but cannot reveal the actual number due to state law, though a conversation with John Stiles, Deputy Chief of Staff for Keith Ellison, encourages anyone who feels defrauded by Glosser to call them and report it to their toll-free number, 800-657-3787. Again, that number is 800-657-3787. Do you have a tip or story for us to follow up on? We'll put it to our team to work getting to the bottom of your story. Call the Chris Berg Show tip line at 855-200-1776, extension 6, or email me, chris.larson@flyingfamily.com. Reporting for the Chris Berg Show, I'm Chris Larson. Back to you, Chris.
Chris put a ton of work in that, as you can tell from all the clips. He went out and got a lot of interviews. I even spoke to, obviously, the Glosser Images attorney. So, Chris, thank you so much for that update. And again, if you've got some things you want us to uncover, we are here to go to work for you. Very easy to do. Just email chris.larson@flagfamily.com. When we come back, some record-breaking news for the great state of North Dakota. Plus, have you heard some of the recent pages? Some of the recent pages that are happening in the airports. If you haven't heard these, stick around. It'll put a smile on your face on this Friday Eve on the Chris Berg Show. Stay with us.
Flu shots are available at your local Thrifty White pharmacy. Schedule your flu shot appointment at thriftywhite.com today. Protect yourself, your family, and everyone around you from the seasonal flu. Our certified immunization pharmacists have enhanced training and safety protocols so you can feel safe about getting your vaccine. We anticipate a strong demand for flu shots, so schedule online and get your flu vaccine at your local Thrifty White pharmacy today.
You are loved with an everlasting love. You are designed for excellence. You are not given the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. Exercise your gifts in times such as these and fight the good fight with the power you were granted by the virtue you were designed for. Enemies, foreign and domestic, with no resemblance creation, wish to make you a slave. Please exercise your freedom and stand tall. I'm Jim. I'm ndflagpoleguy.com. Support America. Install a flag. And thank you.
Why would you buy anything from people who do not share your values, who fight against everything you stand for every day? Why? I know. Maybe it's easy, right? Oh, I go to the big box store. Oh, I can just push click here. Oh, I'm going to do it. It's good free shipping. Listen, Mike Lindell and his team at MyPillow have removed every reason for you to shop there, anywhere else, because you can shop at MyPillow and get the best products at the best deals. You get a money-back guarantee, a 10-year warranty, and the best deals ever. Go to MyPillow.com right now. Click on Radio Listener Specials. Listen to this deal. My slippers are now on sale. Men and women moccasins, slip-ons, 50% off when you use the promo code SCOTT and get the My Slipper Leather Protectant Spray. Save 30% on that right now. My Pillow slippers, best ever, 50% off. MyPillow.com. Click on the Radio Listener Specials. Use the promo code SCOTT or call 800-506-9028.
When it's time to put the hammer down, build with Thor. At Thor Buildings, we'll give you a contract up front and guaranteed that price from start to finish. We specialize in post-frame construction. This means it will cost you less than traditional construction. So whether it's commercial, residential, or agriculture, it's important to us to build a quality product at a price you can afford. Let us bring your building project to life. Go online to thorbuildings.com. So when it's time to put the hammer down, build with Thor.
Hey guys, Kyle Cornell here, host of Kyle's Corner, which airs every Friday during the Blitz.
Nice to be able to fulfill something and to continue to do something and not just push it away.
Chance to get to know the young student athletes that are leading our community.
I think I'm learning to step up in that role as the person who the younger guys and other guys in the system can look up to.
That's right. Make sure you tune into the Blitz Fridays at 6 on AM 1100 The Flag and WDAY Radio to hear rock stars like these guys talk and all the high school sports coverage you need.
Berg Show, your oasis of freedom, your hour of power. As always, thank you so much for lending us your ears on this Friday Eve afternoon. We got a great show in store for you tomorrow. There are some big breaking news that took place earlier today that we'll talk about on tomorrow's show. Before I get to that, I just want to share with you about how a flat rate fee can actually save you thousands and thousands of dollars with James Patrick Real Estate. I want to invite you to go check out their website because here's what's amazing what this company is doing. They've been in business now for almost 10 years. They've helped hundreds and hundreds of clients. And they've got this tool there where you can actually see, it's called a listing fee comparison. So you can go down there and look at, hey, if I sell my house for $250,000, if I sell it for $500,000, whether it's $700,000, you can see how much money you save because of their flat fee program. So I'm going to give you an example right now. Let's say you went out and you sold your house for $250,000 working with James Patrick Real Estate. They're going to save you $4,000 on the listing fee. $4,000 they're going to save you on a house price for $250,000. Let's say your home is worth $500,000. Let's see if I can get our mouse to work here. And you go over to about $500,000 and let's just say $50,000. You're going to save over $12,000 because again, whether they sell it for $250,000, $500,000, $700,000, you only pay a flat fee of $3,500 to list that home. Again, it's James Patrick Real Estate. Go check out their website. They got a bunch of testimonials up there. One of them says, hey, Dan and his team is on top of the entire process. Make it super easy to understand. We saved so much money and time with James Patrick Real Estate. Thank you, Nick Olderud. Again, it's James Patrick Real Estate. Honest advice, proven results. All right, so you heard earlier from Representative Jim Casper. I just want to remind you, there's three pillars to the Chris Berg Show. One is faith, very, very important right now. We've talked about it many times. Look, you and I both know that we are in a spiritual warfare, spiritual battle right now. If you don't believe that, call me personally. We'll have the conversation, okay? Because that is how it feels to me every single day, getting into Ephesians 6, putting on that armor of God, right? The breastplate of righteousness. You've got your shield of faith. So those are very, very important components as we continue to restore American liberty, to make North Dakota the freest state in the nation. The second pillar of this show is freedom. Every day you can see how our freedoms are being infringed upon with executive orders, new policies, more taxes, whatever that might be. That is why, as I talk to friends and family across the country and hear what's happening in different parts of the nation, I know there's a huge opportunity for our great state to position itself as the freest state in the nation. We're not there right now, but there's things that you and I can be doing to help create that brand across the rest of the country to attract freedom-loving people like you and I, to attract freedom lovers here to the great state of North Dakota. Now, part of freedom obviously is economic freedom, and that's what I want to share with you. One of the things that happened earlier today, huge announcement, potentially the biggest project in North Dakota. I mean, the diversion is a big project, right? I get that, but I mean, this is a private industry predominantly project. It's a $2.8 billion with a B, $2.8 billion gas to liquids complex. And it's in Trenton, North Dakota, which is just outside of Williston. So obviously a very, very small town. And this ginormous project that is going to help our state continue to thrive economically is going to be put in Trenton, North Dakota. So that announcement came today from Governor Burgum's office. One of the big components, if you will, to get this done is North Dakota Commerce Commissioner James Lamont. He's going to join us live here in studio tomorrow. We're going to spend a few segments with James because not only is this project getting done, but also you've got another $25 billion worth of projects potentially coming in to the great state of North Dakota. We talked about this yesterday. Has there ever been a time in your life that North Dakota has been so primed and ready to just explode, take off economically? I can't remember that time. So if you can think of a time like that, kudos to you. I can't, but boy, I got to tell you, it's going to be a fascinating conversation tomorrow with James Lamont to look at all the incredible things happening in our great state. Now, I mentioned at the top of the show, paging, please go to gate 7. I'm paging Noman dates, please. Noman dates, gate 7. So if you don't get that, there's now people that are going into airports. I'm going to play this clip for you and then I'll explain it in a moment. But this is what's happening in airports across our great nation.
Attention in the terminal, Nolan Dates. Nolan Dates. Please meet your party, Southwest Ticket Counter. Again, Nolan Dates. Please meet your party, Southwest Ticket Counter.
Oh, I just love people's sense of humor. Do you get it? No mandates, no dates. And then they tag it with, please meet your guest at the Southwest Airlines ticket counter. Yes, Noman dates. Noman dates. Please go to the Southwest ticket counter to meet your guest. You seem to be lost. And then here's one more if we have time. This happened as well in Chicago O'Hare. It's a little soft on the volume, but hopefully you'll get the point.
Brandon, please report the descent party. Passenger Lexo Brandon, please report the descent to meet your party.
Let's go, Brandon.
Paging passenger, let's go, Brandon. All right, it's the Chris Berg Show. We'll see you back here tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day.